Now, there were three pieces of legislation that I feel dealt with rights and civil rights. Specifically, the first was Representative McGeehan's bill to prevent shackling of pregnant prisoners during labor. Do you guys have an opinion on that piece of legislation?
Yeah, we worked with Representative McGeehan to draft that legislation, and we'd actually, it's an issue that we started looking at towards the end of last session. And we worked, all through the summer on drafting legislation, and spoke with Representative McGeehan in the fall, and asked that she sponsor it, and she was very supportive. And although we are not always on the same side of issues, she has sort of been the champion of women and children at the legislature. And so I think it was a really good fit. And over the session, we worked closely with Representative McGeehan and Mike Kane from the Idaho Sheriff's Association, and we came up with language that both the ACLU of Idaho and the Sheriff's Association agreed upon. That doesn't often happen. So it took a while, and we got, it's a bill that's narrower than we wanted, but we realized that that's the way things work, and we worked on a compromise that we could all agree on. And the bill was presented in House State Affairs and printed by unanimous vote. There was one question. It wasn't a difficult print hearing. There wasn't a lot of challenges to Representative McGeehan or why she would be doing this. And tentatively, she had a public hearing scheduled. It was going to go to June rules in the House. And in the meantime, she heard from Department of Corrections about their concerns, and decided to pull the legislation. And our office, that was really unfortunate. We thought that was really unfortunate. We and others didn't get a chance, because there were many other organizations that supported us along the way. Didn't get a chance to address those concerns, and I think we really could have. There were security concerns that I think we wrote a piece of legislation that really spoke to those concerns. And there's also, now I believe it's up to 7, it could be 8 states that have passed legislation like this. Most of them are much broader than the one that we introduced here. And there have been 0 instances of escape or assault or anything like that from a pregnant woman who's incarcerated and not restrained during labor in any of those states. And that's sort of the reaction that most people have had. Most legislators that I talked to couldn't believe that we would even be concerned about a woman giving birth and running off or hitting someone, or and it hasn't happened. So we clearly were very supportive and helped draft this legislation, and we hope to continue working on it and hope to introduce it again next session.
Now, the second bill that I want to see if I can get your opinion on is Representative Phil Hart also pitched a bill to limit the use of whole body imaging machines in the state of Idaho in airports and public buildings. Of course, it didn't make it through the Senate. What was the ACLU's opinion on that bill?
We didn't take an official position on the bill, although I talked to him about it, and I also talked to our national office, and we do have concerns about the use of that type of technology generally. There's grave privacy concerns. It's depending on the technology you use, it's potentially like a strip search, so we are concerned. There were issues with that bill that I think possibly were unresolved, like the jurisdiction. Does the state have jurisdiction, or is the federal government, and at airports, and who has jurisdiction to do this? But I think generally we're supportive of the idea that we need to be very careful when we're dealing with the privacy of Idahoans, and so it's something that we monitored, but we didn't take